Good morning everyone, I hope you are well. Welcome back to the channel. I feel a little bit nervous to film this video and I feel like I've been putting it off. At this moment in time I don't know what I'm calling the video, but you'll have seen it and probably gather that it's some sort of life update, and it's focused obviously around, I know I've been teasing it over the last few months. That's not been intentional of the teasing aspect, but is about our house buying process and where we're at. And the reason I'm nervous to film this and the reason I have delayed it so much is because if you've been through the house buying process, or even if you haven't, I'm sure you've heard that it is one of the most stressful things that you can do. Uncertainty throughout the whole thing until you have the keys in your hand. Unfortunately, I can't tell you that we have the keys in our hand. It's definitely not at that stage yet, but we have made huge strides, and I thought I would just update you on the whole process because currently it is a massive part of my life that I haven't shared with you, and it doesn't feel right not to share it, because obviously if this was all to fall through, touch wood it doesn't, but if it was, obviously that's going to affect my mood. It could possibly affect me bringing my consistent videos for a little while. So I'd rather tell you so that if it happens I can then confide in you, and you kind of know what's going on in my life and maybe why I'm not as perky as I usually am. It has been a goal of ours, mine and Carl's, to buy our own home since we met each other, I suppose. We obviously live in military accommodation. If you're new around here, hello, I'm Charlotte. I live in military housing. My husband is still in the RAF. I used to be. So this house that I'm in now is a military house and we rent it off the military. So it's like renting a house in Civvy Street. You have to be, I suppose you're careful with what work you do because it's costing you money. You're not gonna see the benefits from that when you move, and with a military house you do have to put it back to how you moved into it, so magnolia walls and all that kind of stuff. You can't make changes to it that you can't put back to how it was, even if those changes are better, annoyingly. So as much as we try and make a military house homely, it's always been a goal of ours to have our own family home. I have also mentioned on here before that I do own my own flat in Hampshire, and I currently rent that out. The goal was to sell that last year in 2024 and use that to help us with our deposit. However, the house, I think the first time buyers who would be probably be the people or investors that would buy my flat, because it is a 1-bedroom flat, we had very little interest on it basically last year, and no offers, and we had it up for about 6 months over the summer months, and as it came into the winter we decided that we'd put it back up for rent and try again this year, because the mortgage rates were so high last year and it just maybe wasn't working in our favour. So we've rented it back out for another year, but we looked at everything, we looked at the numbers, we looked at finances and thought, right, we can still do this. We can still buy our family home. Let's go for it still. It would just mean, because we're looking for a house that needs work, that we can live in, we can move straight into, but it's not how we want it. It's not our aesthetic, it's not to the standard we want, so it would need work. Because the dream home, we can't afford our dream home as a finished product, so the only way that we can get our dream home is to buy a house that needs work and do it as a labour of love over a number of years. So that was the decision that was made last year. So we did start house hunting. When did we start doing that? I mean, basically all of last year we were looking on Rightmove and on the market and all those different websites in several different locations, because I'm not from anywhere. My dad was in the army. I moved around my whole childhood. Carl is from West Yorkshire, but he doesn't particularly want to live there, so we can literally live anywhere. And the other twist to this story is that obviously if we were buying a house, just me and Carl, we'd probably choose to do it near my parents who live in South Wales. However, we are actually buying a house with my parents. So this is going to be a multi-generation living situation. So you can see how this gets more complicated. The house that we're looking for, the factors that come with that, because my mum and dad need to sell their house. So it just adds another complication and another factor, more difficult factor, more stressful factor to this equation. So I personally, how many house viewings did I go on last year? I think I went on 3. Carl went on a few more because we were looking in West Wales, because we want a house obviously that needs a bit of work but also has a fair bit of land with it, because you'll probably know that my dad has his own allotment, and the goal is to have land, grow our own fruits and vegetables on that land, have space for obviously George and Arnie to be able to run and play outside at our house, but also have a lovely family home too. We need enough space for an annex to build that, and yeah. So we looked in West Wales. We did look at a couple of properties here in England as well, at different counties, but we thought West Wales was where we were going to find the house, and that's where we're going to have to be, mostly because of price and the amount of properties in West Wales with a lot of land that we could afford. It was just looking likely to be there. However, and at one point I think I had a Tropic event or a Christmas market or something on, and I couldn't make it to the house viewing. So my mum, dad, Carl and George all went to West Wales for the day and did quite a few house viewings in a day back in November. There was a really lovely house that me and Carl then went to view on a separate occasion, but unfortunately that sold before my mum and dad's house sold, because we couldn't obviously progress until their house had sold. Me and Carl now don't have a property to sell, so we can, you know, move whenever. But these things always work out how they're supposed to, I believe, and I am hanging on to that. Because we then found, my dad was literally on the internet looking at houses all the time and sending them to Carl. And there was one in Herefordshire, which I think they overlooked for a little while, but it was smack bang between where we live now and my parents. So when Carl was at work one day, I went down with George, met my mum and dad there, and we viewed it. And particularly me and my dad loved this house. My dad loved the land it had, I loved the house, and my mum wasn't sure because it does need a fair bit of work. The kitchen's not very nice, it's not how we would want it, but structurally and the layout of the house, for me personally, is perfect. It's what I envisaged. It's got an acre of land, and I actually preferred, and my dad said, because of the location as well, with it being in England, and not in the middle of nowhere like West Wales would be, away from like friends and family, obviously particularly for me and Carl with his family and my friends and Carl's friends, and England is just would have been the best case scenario. So we viewed this before my mum and dad's house sold, then so we couldn't move forward on putting an offer in. However, at the very start of December, my parents, they put their house up for sale in September. They had very consistent viewings, and it actually had an offer and sold. They accepted that offer at the very beginning of December. Literally the following day to that amazing news was us putting an offer in on this house in Herefordshire, and our first offer was not accepted, but our second offer was accepted. And it was very exciting. However, again, if you've been through the house buying process, you know your offer being accepted on a house is only the start of the stress. The viewing houses is the fun bit. When you pick one and you start going through the process, that's the stressful bit. Obviously my parents are in the process of selling their house, but for me and Carl, we are getting a mortgage for our part of it. And the last time I applied for a mortgage, I was fully employed in the RAF, and I don't remember it being as stressful a situation. However, I am now self-employed, and there were a lot more questions that came with being self-employed. They needed a lot more documentation. They had far more questions for me. And from the beginning of December through till the very beginning of February, we were going back and forth trying to get our mortgage approved. I am so relieved and excited to say that on the 1st of February we had our mortgage offer accepted. I literally was in tears. I just felt all the pressure on myself, rightly or wrongly, and I just didn't want this process to fall through because I'm self-employed and I wasn't earning enough or, you know, contributing to the family enough to be able to get the mortgage and this house. However, I feel very proud and excited to say that I am contributing enough to the family to be able to buy the house that we want, and really set up our future family home. Obviously, if it falls through now, it's nothing to do with me. It's nothing to do with us as a family, and it's out of our hands. So in a way, since the very start of February, I've kind of felt a weight off my shoulders, and it's out of our hands. Obviously, it would still be absolutely gutting if it fell through at this point, but I am far more hopeful that it's going to happen, and if it doesn't, then there's nothing more we could have done. So fast forward to now, we are waiting for exchange of contracts, and then I believe it will be getting the keys. So we are keeping our fingers crossed that we are literally so close to this happening now. I believe it's going to happen in March. At the very start of this process, our estate agent gave us a projected date, and that date was in March. We are, obviously you're watching this video in March. We are very close to that date, and as of now, when I'm filming this, it is the 26th of February. We are very close to that date, and we haven't had any news about exchange of contracts or anything like that at the moment. So that date is probably looking like that's not going to happen. However, I am still very hopeful that it's going to happen in March. But obviously there's so much uncertainty. Because we are doing this with my parents, we are going to have to get rid of most of our furniture, which, as you can tell, we have not done. And we need to paint it back, which we have not done, because we're in that stage where it's like, are we moving? Are we not? What's happening? We don't want to get rid of all of our furniture and start prepping for a move if it then doesn't happen. So what we think is going to happen is we're going to wait, and then it's going to be go, go, go. And we're going to have to move in a very short space of time, which like I said, I grew up in a military family. I've been in the military myself. Me and Carl have now been in that environment since we've been together for the last 6 years, and we are used to wait, go, go, go. It's how the military works. So we are prepared for that. We've said if we needed to move in a couple of days, we could. I'm not anticipating it's going to be that short a notice, but we're ready for anything. We could do this. So that is basically where we are at with our house buying process. We are ever so close, but yet it still feels quite far. but I just wanted to update you on it all. It's a very exciting but uncertain time, and I hope very soon I will have a video to bring you that is, we've got the keys, and it's going to be the most exciting chapter. I can't tell you, it makes me emotional to think about, and this is why this process is so stressful, because there's so many elements to it, but the quality of the life that it's going to give us, for George growing up on an acre of land, living with his grandparents literally on his doorstep, for them as well, in, you know, the latter part of their life, being around their grandchild and seeing him grow up, and also being a military family, we've always lived away from our grandparents, and as they get older it's been very difficult living far away from them as they get less able and they need more help and more support. So it's going to be so lovely that, obviously, hopefully my mum and dad are as able-bodied as they are now when they hit their 80s and they're in great health, and obviously that's always the goal. However, also we are going to be there in those later years to be there for them all the time as well. So it's just really exciting, but like I said, very uncertain still, and why it's so stressful, and all our hopes and everything are pinned on it. There's so many of us that are really hoping that this happens, and it impacts a lot of people if it doesn't. It's not the end of the world. We do have a plan B, but we're not thinking about that, we're just thinking about plan A. Keep your fingers crossed for us, and it's going to be, like I said, a very exciting chapter. We are thinking of a way in which to share that part of our lives with you in a slightly different way going forward, but I will bring more information on that as and when I know more about whether we're getting the keys in our hand, because I won't be happy until they are sat there. But there could possibly be lots of updates, lots more updates, and lots of exciting things happening in March. If it's happening, it's going to happen in March. I'm manifesting it. Yeah. As far as, obviously, I've told you there's an acre of land with the house. I think telling you more information about the house itself, I'll probably just save that and hopefully show it to you very soon. But thank you for sticking with me if you've watched this this live update. If you have any questions, please pop them in the comments. If you're going through something similar and feeling as stressed out as we've been the last few months, then I understand. We could be on the verge of our lives changing for the better very, very soon, and it's very exciting. Anyway, I think I'll leave that there. I think I've told you all of the, you know, the pertinent points up to this point, and send all your positive vibes this way and keep your fingers crossed, and I will make sure, now that I have told you, that I keep you updated as we go through the next month, because I'm sure this month will reveal more information, basically. But thank you as always for watching. If you enjoyed the update and hearing what's going on in the background, please give it a thumbs up, and as always, if you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. It really does help, and obviously you will then be notified of when I upload a video, and trust me, you're going to want to be around for this next chapter, because it's going to be very exciting. Something obviously we have never done before. 3 generations living under one roof is going to be, it's going to have its challenges, don't get me wrong, but it's also going to be very exciting and just so special for George to grow up in that kind of environment, and special for all of us to enjoy together. Thanks again for watching, and I will catch up with you next week. Bye.